Tonight on TNA Impact, Rob Van Dam gets in a hell of a match with James Storm and gets busted up afterwards. Plus, we find out who is on Team Flair and who is on Team Hogan, headed into their big match at Lockdown. That and much, much more right here, right now. Your TNA Impact review from Big Al and the Kick-Ass Wrestling Show. Tonight, TNA Impact came to us live from, as always, Orlando. The show was okay in the beginning. Things started off decently enough. It seemed as if TNA had gotten their organization problems under control. We see Hulk Hogan come out with Abyss and Jeff Jarrett. We know that they are Team Hogan. Okay, so they come out and they cut a little promo. Then out comes the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Flair comes out and has a few things to say to Hogan, and he lets everyone know who's on Team Flair. It's Sting, who was out there with him as well, Beer Money, and Desmond Wolfe. Of course, not AJ Styles, because he has a world title match against the Pope coming up at Lockdown. So things are a little disorganized, but at least we see in the beginning who's on Team Flair, who's on Team Hogan, because we didn't know up to this point. Flair and company come down to the ring. Jarrett slapped the Stinger right in the face because Sting just laughed at him. He wouldn't tell him why he made a heel turn, why he's gone over to the dark side, as Jeff Jarrett said. So Sting got slapped in the face, but then he laid Jarrett out and took off. And before they could get to Hogan, they were going to hit Hogan with the baseball bat. RVD and Jeff Hardy make the save. So there you have it. Team Hogan, Jeff Hardy, RVD, Abyss, and Jeff Jarrett are going to be taking on Team Flair, Sting, the Beer Money, Desmond Wolfe. Okay, that's it. That's it. Huh? All right. So no Hogan and no Flair. Don't get confused here. Neither one of them are going to actually be wrestling in that match. So it started well enough. After that, we saw RVD taking on James Storm. Okay, at least that's fair. Like I said, it's basic, but it's organized because, RVD and James Storm are on opposing teams for that Lockdown match. So at least they're sticking within the same feud. Last week and all the weeks before, we've had Beer Money just running around doing Bischoff's dirty work. So now suddenly they're on Team Flair. Okay, hopefully they'll stick with that storyline there. After the match, RVD got hit in the head with a bottle and was busted wide open. So I guess, TNA figures if they throw some blood out there, they can compete with WWE. That's obviously not true because it has to be well written. The characters have to be well developed, and right now TNA is not doing that. So that's not going to help. The blood won't help. Anyway, RVD was busted open from the beer bottle, and that was all. So up to this point, TNA's at least been organized. They had a nice match with RVD and James Storm, both of them on team, one on Team Hogan, one on Team Flair, and we got to find out who all the players were for Team Hogan and Team Flair. So at least it was a little simpler, it seemed, when we got started, and they were sort of focusing in. Then things got a little hectic. Rob Terry took on Homicide. Homicide, of course, they're just using him as a jobber. He loses to Rob Terry, and Rob Terry gets busted open as well. He is the global champion. They haven't really done much promoting that global championship. And even though it seems as if they're pushing Rob Terry, they've done nothing to develop his character. Where are his interviews? Where are his promos? Where, when are we going to find out what is Rob Terry about? Is he just an angry, big, muscular guy from Great Britain who's just come over to wrestle? That's pretty boring, so I hope it's more than that. Give him some character development if you're going to have him wrestling and you really want him with that global title. I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but if you really want Rob Terry with the belt and you want to push him, then you have to do it other ways than just letting him wrestle every week and squash people. So that match was fast, nothing much to it. The big story here, though, out of nowhere, Orlando Jordan shows up with a little, looked like a Mardi Gras mask and started spraying lotion all over himself. He even tasted the lotion. Obviously, the lotion was, it was meant for something else, and you can figure out what that was. By now where they're going, with this whole Orlando Jordan character. He's going to be this freaky, weird, mysterious, bisexual character on TNA, and they're giving him a great push with his character. So, a lot of people might disagree with this. They may not like it. It's a little too gold dustish for them, I guess. But, at least they're giving him character development. This is what they were not doing for Rob Terry. Okay, so you see the difference. We're not really seeing Jordan wrestle, but you're getting a good idea of what he's all about. Skits like this, like him or not, by the time, if they went through a few of these, by the time Jordan took the ring again, he would have more heat, The fans would know more about him, and they could pick a side. Do they like him? Do they not? So forth and so on. So that's the smarter route, as opposed to what they're doing with Rob Terry, which is just let him, squash people every week, and we don't really know what Rob Terry is about. So I actually like the Orlando Jordan segment. It's character development. So whether you agree with the character or not is irrelevant. We all have our own opinions. So I like Orlando Jordan, and I'm going to go with that. I don't think he's the best wrestler in the world. I don't have any Orlando Jordan posters up in my room, but I do think his character development could be successful. All right, so that was cool. Then we had what started to be really the nightmare. Up to this point, Impact was pretty fair. High C, maybe even low B if you really, really, like the Rob Van Dam match. You're a big Hulk Hogan fan like I am. And it seemed like things were a little more organized, a little more character development. But then things started to go down the wrong path. We had a Lockbox showdown. A Lockbox showdown. This had nothing to do with Al Gore. This had nothing to do with wrestling. All right, here are the rules. I don't really know if I'm even going to say the rules correctly because they were a little confusing. I guess this was TNA's main event for the evening, believe it or not, because it all led back to this match. Tara versus ODB versus Angelina Love versus Hamada versus Daphne versus the Beautiful People. Whenever you score a pinfall, whoever scores a pinfall first gets to pick a key to a box. And at the end of the show, they get to open the box and find out what they got. It's a little bit of, let's make a deal, which is stupid because this is wrestling, not let's make a deal. We have 4 winners of the keys, and we're going to find out later what's going to be in those boxes. We know that the TNA Knockouts title is in one of those boxes. The TNA Knockouts title is in a box. Okay? So, yes, the title is worthless. If you're going to stick your title into a box that anyone can win, you win and you get a key. Luck of the draw. Your title is worthless. Vince Russo is still treating titles like they are props. He has said that his whole career booking. Titles are props. He's still treating them as props. Hogan and Bischoff said when they came to TNA they were going to change shit like this, and it has not changed. The title cannot be used as a prop. It has to be respected. Wrestling has to be respected as a sport or people will not care about it, Russo. You can't just do anything you want because you think it'll get ratings. This is a wrestling program, okay? You can't do bungee jumping because you think bungee jumping is popular and it will get you ratings. I'm sorry. I had to rant there. And if you've been catching the radio show lately, I've been ranting a lot. Look. Don't blame Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. That's the easy, simple-minded thing to do. If you're on the internet, you're a big wrestling fan, you're reading all the dirt sheets. Oh, Hogan and Bischoff just showed up. Vince Russo is still booking. Hulk Hogan is not a booker. Eric Bischoff is not a booker. Vince Russo is writing this stuff. He's been writing it from the ground up. So if it stinks, if the writing is bad, that is why. It's Vince Russo. Russo's been there for almost a decade. He's been there as long as Stephanie McMahon has been booking in the WWE. We need change, and Dixie Carter is not giving us any kind of change. So, I'm just going to stop there. They had the title in a lockbox, okay? One box, you would have to, one of the knockouts, they'd have to strip. One of them, they'd win the title. One of them, what were they get a snake poison? No. Tara's spider poison. And the last prize, what was the Knockouts title, spider poison. This was just bad. This was just really bad. A striptease. There was another one. I don't even remember. I don't even care. That was the worst ending in wrestling history. In wrestling history. That was the ending of the show. They came out and opened their boxes, ladies and gentlemen. Angelina Love won the title by opening a box. Daphne was to perform a striptease. She started to, and Lacey Von Erich came out and started stripping after beating her up with the ugly stick. That was the main event of TNA Impact tonight. The main event of TNA Impact were knockouts opening boxes containing prizes. That is not a wrestling program. You build your program around wrestling. It doesn't have to be 2 hours of wrestling. I'm not one of those guys. But you need to build up their characters. You need to focus on the belts. You need to focus on the wrestling. You need to treat it like it's real. You need to announce it like it's real. You can't have these joking, characters who are so silly that they're stupid. You can't have one person in this feud that's also feuding in this feud, that's doing a skit with someone else in this feud. TNA is so disorganized.